If I could have imagined what I would have wanted the Star Trek VR game to be, this is it!
Go, Captain!
You well
called you a
dickhead! Called you a dickhead!
Eyes on this guy. Try one more time, here we go. For the team!
Okay,
Here we go. Mike, you weren't even looking, were you?
Start again.
You weren't even
Oh,
looking.
sorry, Cap.
Fucking hell.
You did say eyes on you.
Turn up, son! Turn
This
up!
guy fucks. I'm the captain.
Wow.
You're using the PlayStation.
No. Oh, wow, I see how it is. That's
I'm
racist.
the vibe.
Racist, mate.
I'm the vibe. We're gonna
Racist.
fly a starship. I'm a Trek nerd.
You may be a Trek nerd, mate, but one thing that I am, mate, and that is the captain.
Oh, I'm a Trek nerd, and this has been the game that I've been waiting for a while.
Do you know what, mate? I've got to admit, I'm a little cautious. Not because it's Trek. Not because it's Trek.
Whatever,
There's a couple of
LaForge.
elements in there.
Whatever LaForge.
Please, mate. You're
Whatever
Worf.
LaForge.
Worf. Vagina. Forehead.
It's VR Star Trek. Let's go.
Select character.
You ready, Captain?
This was a well good game.
Did you think it was gonna be? Because you're not a Trek fan.
No.
You're not a Trek
But
fan.
I tell you what, it was the Trek that got me excited, even though I'm not a Trek fan, because I like the concept of what it's saying that it can do in an environment that I'm familiar with, but I enjoy.
Yeah, everybody because it's the Abrams Star Trek.
Yes.
It's the new one. So even if you've only seen the movies, you know where you are.
Yeah,
it kind of
exactly,
makes sense.
exactly.
It kind of all falls into place. So take it away. Do we have a story, pal? Because we both played the crap out of this.
We had a story. I think we did a select couple of missions, but the story is basically it's in an alternate reality. Established in the 2009 Star Trek film.
Ooh.
Yeah? So we take control of the USS Aegis, or Aegis for some reason it kept calling it in the
Yeah, it's
film.
the Aegis.
It's the Aegis, okay?
Learn to Britain. All right? Speak the Queens.
So the Vulcans are searching for a new planet, considering that theirs has just been blown up by
Bastards.
Klingons. Again, fucking Klingons.
Well, Nero blew up the Vulcan. I don't want to just correct your canonography, okay?
Wow.
But in the film, it was, in fact, Nero who blew up Vulcan. All right?
You're an ass.
All right? So don't stop getting Trek wrong. That's all I'm going to say to you in my
right. presence,
because I'm a nerd on this
All
shit.
right, Dad. so anyway, the ship's heading through a part of space called the Trench, which is occupied by Klingons. So the story is we're trying to find the new homeworld for the Vulcan, and Klingons are like, "Don't think so, mate."
Yeah, exactly. But
The stories. I think it's arbitrary
loose.
at the minute. Yeah.
It's loose because what you essentially get is a series of campaigns which get gradually more difficult. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
They get gradually more difficult where you set a number of tasks. Each one's about 20-30 minutes to get done, depending on if you pass or fail, because you can absolutely fail these missions pretty easy, and we did. And they also have a like an ongoing journeys mission, which is kind of like randomly generated stuff, so you can keep going. So they have like an infinite supply of stuff if you really want to do it. Gameplay wise, then, this is going to be a little ropey because it's a 4-player co-op game.
It is a 4-player.
You can single player. You can absolutely do that. But the design of the game is simple. You're supposed to have 4 heads, real people, who take command of the 4 posts on the bridge that are available. And each guy has their own specific duties, and there's also a couple of shared systems that you can assign out to responsible players who can also manage extra stuff, I guess is one way of saying it. So we've got an engineer, we have a helmsman, we have tactical, and we've got the captain. So what did you play, sir?
Well, I trained to be the captain, but then as I started to try the other things, I thought I'm probably not cut out to be the captain.
Very quickly, you figure out where you want to be.
Absolutely,
which is nice.
I mean, like, for us, we was in a very, I'd say it was a unique kind of scenario, but I wanted to be the captain, but then we got someone who was very tolerant, who was very versed with the game, and he was absolutely spot on. And as we were playing, I thought, I couldn't have done that.
Well, he was a military man. He was part of the Dutch Air Force.
He was
the Dutch Air Force, yeah, and he was very into it.
Yeah, so
and he took over.
I preferred tactical, mate.
What a surprise. What is tactical all about?
Tactical is basically the battle stations of the ship. It controls the weapons, the shields, and
Scanning.
the scanning, my friend.
scanning.
The scanning. But what I liked about this is, I mean, obviously, if we just really quickly run over what the four posts are, like we said, the captain, he basically oversees the mission. He gives orders and instructions to all the crew. He's got a heads-up display of everything that the crew has.
Yeah, he can like give readouts of information.
Yes.
Can't alter anything though.
No, he can't. He can only give instruction. You basically, the captain, you sat in your chair, you've got 4 buttons either side. There's your objectives, your readouts, and there's obviously the red alert.
The red alert button, which is the key button.
It's key. The helmsman, which is what you favoured.
I was really surprised. The last thing I thought I would want to do, if I had the choice of any bridge position, was to pilot the ship. But when I got in there and realised the stuff that they allowed you to do, which not only they gave you the handle to go to warp, which was great, which every time I did that, I felt so good. It was so satisfying because we actually had an argument with the captain because at first he said punch it like it was Abrams.
Oh my god!
To which we jumped down his throat and said, if you don't say engage with a pointy finger, we're not going fucking nowhere, mate.
I remember the fact though because you was there. I was in engineering for the first mission as well.
Yeah.
And when he said punch it, we both turned round. What?
You better say engage.
So good.
But the other part about it is you had 2 screens, which was controlled by the captain actually. So I had a readout of a top-down display of all the things around me. So if there was anomalies nearby or very, very, it didn't show debris on there actually. So it had anomalies and other ships, which I could then position so you could scan them. And this is where we'll get in a second is how all the roles play together. But other than that, I had to rely on the view screen because my controller for tiny movements works in full 3D space. So it's not a case of going left and right, which is kind of what I figured it would be.
Yeah.
It totally is left, right, up and down.
Oh, yeah.
Which you need to control. And you also have another throttle for adjusting your speed accordingly.
Yeah.
And I also have the readout for arcs of fire for things like the phasers. So that's when I can then... So your helmsman is actually doing loads of stuff.
Oh, absolutely,
to reposition the ship, avoid debris, because I did smash into an asteroid.
You did.
It did. But it was underneath the ship. I couldn't see it. It wasn't on the view screen and it wasn't on my readout.
Was that the mission where we had the funny stealth thing at the end of it?
I don't know if it was the stealth mission or not, but all I know is yes, I did. Suddenly on my view screen, the way was clear. On my readout below, it was clear. Then suddenly the ship went and just scuffed the paint on the ship. And it turns out that I had indeed bumped into an asteroid.
You did.
But once I figured out that I was maneuvering fully 3D and doing all that stuff and plotting the impulse course and all that, I just loved it. I fell in love with it.
Cool.
I was so engaged.
Yeah, from all posts, so like even on tactical, like as I can see the readout of the enemy ships, and obviously I've got the overhead view as well for scanning, for firing, for targeting. But see like our ship move and knowing that there's like someone sat right next to me doing all this as I'm doing something else for the ship.
Well, this is the cream of the ship. So the last spot I think is universally considered to be the worst. It's one of those things. This game has the opportunity that if you're a more passive player, this is more the role for you. Whereas I wanted to be very hands-on, as you like to be very hands-on.
Yeah.
But there are some players who we did meet who didn't really want to be hands-on, and they thought they took the engineering post.
It was more there for the ride, I'm assuming. You know?
Yeah, and to be a part of the crew and to be useful as well, to feel that way, but maybe you don't want the stress of... Because if you helm badly, you can really screw up the missions,
Absolutely.
same as tactical, because it can get very fast-paced in some of the more intense missions. Engineering controls the power distributions and also repairing the ship.
Yep.
And they do that very, very simple idea, which is you have a set number of power bars, you'll have seen in many games, and you have to decide between 3 systems. It's phasers, shields, and engines, where that power goes. So I think you have 12 power bars, or 10, and the maximum of each one is 5. So if they put 5 into engines, which maxes engines out, then the helmsman can move the ship faster.
Yeah.
But if he takes power out of there, you can put that into shields, so your shields are stronger, or you can put it into phasers, which increases the range of phasers, which makes it easier if your helmsman is a little bit on the weaker side, so he's not being able to get you in position correctly to shoot. So maybe you want a bit more in phasers there.
Yeah. But there is an option to redirect power through other subsystems of the ship. Kind of like a Terminator, mate.
A little bit. It's not that difficult. Let's it's not. I mean, engineering is a pretty simple role, but it is a case of if when your captain calls damage report, which is an awesome feeling. You're the guy you do get the damage.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, you do get the damage report, and you have to micromanage the repair crews to go to. So if your warp core is damaged, and I did get to say it for Trek fans, I did go the warp. We have a warp core problem.
Breach.
It wasn't a breach. We weren't going to explode. I was like, the warp core's down, so I needed to, but all you're doing is dragging and dropping the repair crew to the warp core.
But it was being there, wasn't it?
Well, this is the thing. So that's the gameplay. Those are the 4 roles that you get to do. Why is this easily the best game I played on VR? Everything is nothing each player can do isn't affected by somebody else.
Yep.
Which is incredible teamwork feeling. So you're on tactical. I think we did one of the most difficult missions we did was a Warbird arrived. And for those of you who aren't Trek fans, Warbird is an extremely tough Klingon ship. One of the bigger ones. It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we failed it the first time. It killed us. And when we came back, we had me and you on tactical, and it was about maneuvering the ship behind it to avoid fire while keeping in the arc of doing all this, and then it all comes together. And that's because the other player's doing one thing, and then I noticed regularly when we'd start a mission, the captain would say to engineering, all right, I want 4 in engines for speed, give me 3 in the others. But then I would start shouting over to engineers like, this is a quiet phase of this mission. Can I get a little bit more speed? So then my engineer is going to drop power out of probably shields, back it into engines. But he needs to be aware that when we get into the nitty gritty, he needs to drop that back down because that's what the captain wanted to be done. And the captain's instructions are really important. Otherwise, people start doing their own thing. You have to synergize together. So I noticed that on my panel, my speed would go up to, I would have the option to go up to like 5,000 kph. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, this guy's now getting my thought process and what's happening. The same as when I'm targeting things so you know what to scan.
Yep.
Because the captain would often be, because you might be scanning multiple pods, and he's like, I need to scan Theta. Can you scan Theta for me? You're not sure what Theta is, but I can find out what Theta is, and I can target it very quickly. That then reads out on your panel that that's Theta, so you're like, right, I got it, I'm scanning it, and all that kind of stuff.
The another thing that I liked using the fight with a Warbird as an example is they actually had cargo that we couldn't let them escape with.
Yeah.
And when we were getting range, and as soon as the ship was scanned, I had to keep disabling their engines. But also, obviously, if I'm disabling their engines, you can disable its what's the bloody word for it?
Intrusion.
Intrusion, yeah, the intrusion system. You can do communications, engines, shields, and weapons. But if I'm disabling their engines so they stop moving, they've obviously still got active weapons.
Yep.
So we had to disable their engines, maneuver around so that they couldn't shoot us. Also because I then had to drop the shields so that we could teleport the item off their ship that we needed.
Exactly, and it's a very tense moment because a lot of the missions wear you down in some way to the point when you do drop the shields, which is kind of like in when you're watching the show, it's kind of arbitrary. To transport, we've got to drop the shields.
Yeah.
And they're going to be okay because that would be a really weird episode if everybody just died. But in this, you can die, and then you've got so you might have 2 Klingon ships bearing down on you, but you have to beam the stuff out. So the captain has to go drop the shields, beam them out. So then you're relying on another player to be like locking on with the transporter, and then giving you a countdown. So there's many moments where they're like, "We're beaming out in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1," and you shields up, get us the fuck out of here.
Good.
Shields up and get us. It was
good.
that feel. And then, but when the mission's done, you sat around a briefing table. Or you're on the ship, because there's some quiet... I loved this, actually. There was quiet moments in the missions.
Yeah.
And in those quiet moments, you're not bored.
No.
You turn around in your chair, and you're having a laugh with the guys on the bridge.
But it's everything as well, like those ambient noises that the ship makes and things like that in the background. But I'd say on the Warbird, as soon as we got the cargo out, the second that it was out, we had like engineering reallocating, and then you were steering it into like a battle position, then I was arming the weapons and the torpedoes, and everything was doing something. It was like obviously staying alive in this Warbird. But when we were getting hit by the Warbird, like the ship shakes, sparks come out, there's electricity going everywhere. It's so
they damaged the ship completely.
Immersive.
I would love to have seen someone fly across the bridge.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. But they did have, like I said, the passive conversations going on between other members of the crew that aren't you.
Yeah.
But I can't express how the teamwork and camaraderie that you feel on the ship, and how quickly you also develop in jokes. Because the captain was taking the piss out of me crashing the ship into an asteroid. Right? He was taking the piss out of me for doing that. And you do have these moments where it's very chill, because your mission starts very normally, because you are supposed to be finding the Vulcan homeworld. So some missions start off with all right, let's just go and scan these planets, or let's go and scan these things. And that's when you're just having chit-chat, like you're at work almost, but in a fun way with these lads.
That's how we discovered that when the captain sits back in his chair, his character in game sits back and crosses his legs.
Yeah.
And just little things like that was so funny. But the body, that's another beautiful thing, is the body mannerisms. You can tell what people are doing. Like someone, I can remember it was, I think it was Lodge who had a dig at you. You turned around to me like lifted your arms up as if to say, "What the fuck, man?" But your body did it in game.
This is the great thing about having the move controllers.
So
I mean, we did
nicely.
get the guys to plug in their move controllers because once they realised that this is how it was going to be with us, because we're very animated. Because obviously everyone's got the helmet on, because we did cross-platform. We did PlayStation VR, and I was on the Vive, and no issues there at all.
Absolutely none.
No issues at all. Is the body language. Because obviously you can see where their head's looking. And even if you're talking, because the audio goes through the game, the mouths move on the characters to give you that extra level of immersion. But if you've got the move controls, obviously you can control the hands and the fingers, and you can do everything. Which means we're pointing at each other, and also trying to, almost childishly, but it's a game, right? Is signalling over the top of the heads of people. Because if you're on helm, and I'm on engineering, there's somebody sat in between us. So we might be trying to like give someone shit. And then you'll see their head turn, because we're giggling. You'll see their head turn, and you know they're looking at you, and then you're trying to play normal and all this guy. All this stupid stuff is what built to this really immersive experience. And I've got to say, we streamed it for many hours. It felt like 20 minutes had passed.
Absolutely, yeah. Not a dull moment.
Not a dull moment. So visually, it's one of these ones that's visually not incredible to look at for an onlooker. You have to be in there, which is the case of most VR games, unfortunately. But what an absolutely tremendous time I had with this game. I just want more. I want more things to do. I want more crew members. I want more of this. I want to be able to. If I was the engineer and I was in engineering, I think I'd have had a better time. If I could move between. If I could be at the warp core and checking systems and doing things like that. Because we said we should probably bring up the gameplays. There's two systems which are allocated to anybody who wants them. So transporter is one, because it's not a very complex thing.
I think disruption was intrusion.
Intrusion, yeah. So it's whoever can manage that extra bit of process on top of their own job.
It's basically not the captain, but the other three have got a separate monitor on the left-hand side of their seat, which is what controls transportation and intrusion. So anyone can pick that, but usually it'd be engineering that takes transportation and tactical that took intrusion as well.
Which made sense, because you do the scans and you can't do intrusions until you do the scans.
But I can do selective scans as well. So instead of doing a full scan of a ship, I can just scan the ship's engines, which obviously takes a shorter amount of time, but then my intrusion options will only be to disrupt their engines. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Superb game.
Absolutely
wonderful. Recommend
amazing.
it if you have VR in any form, PlayStation or otherwise. Totally recommend it. Hands down, best VR game.
The best VR game we've ever played.
And you know what's really sad? You will never get it by watching a video.
Do you know what? No,
You'll never
I agree with
ever get it by watching somebody else play this game as to what that experience is like. And that's the problem with VR all over in a nutshell. It's like, people watch it like, they're just looking at panels, and I'm like, you don't understand how good this is. It's so good. Just do accomplishing thing with, accomplishing things with friends. They're aren't your friends. Like me and you were on the crew, and then we met the captain.
The captain, mate, all day.
And Yodgfed. And it's like you started to read each other, like, because obviously, like, I was helm most of the time, and your speed is limited by whatever engineering's doing. And so every now and again, I was like through the stream, I was like, hey, Yoshvek, you can be a little bit more speed, mate, because he can control my power.
He does.
Next game, like, I just noticed that when we do certain stuff, my speed just went up by one. I'm like, you. And you look over, and this is the thing that makes VR so special. You look over, and he goes.
But you can get the body language as well in the game, which was such. I guarantee that most reviews won't pick up on it as strongly as like I did while we were doing it at the same time. But little things like when we're talking about we missed an achievement. Right, we missed an achievement and Mike was piloting and he came out of he was moving somewhere too fast and we didn't get the stealth achievement. And Mike was looking at his clipboard, he's saying, well, someone, moved a little too fast. And the captain was trying not to throw aspersions, mate. But as soon as Mike put his menu down, I was over the other side of the table like this. And then Launchman, the engineer, just looks over to Mike and goes, just little things like that.
I recommend if you've got a PlayStation VR, if you've got a Vive, you've got an Oculus, got whatever, Just get it and just have fun with it.
And I wouldn't say that the fun is restricted to your friends either.
Oh no,
it really
no.
isn't.
We played with. In fact, we created an atmosphere that instantly turned people off if they were very serious. Because we actually played this the day before we did the full day stream of it, and we definitely encountered people who were very into it.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, they were like so RP and stuff like that, which isn't the way we wanted to play. Obviously, like that's great if you want to be like, I'm really in the Star Trek universe. That's awesome. And so people like instantly you join the crew. And you get a feel for what's going on. You're like, okay, this isn't my kind of crew. I'll go and find a more RP-orientated crew. Or we joined in, and how many people? We had 2 people who joined in. Were like, nope, because we were just like, way.
I don't reckon they were though. I mean, one of them was very, very serious, but he stuck with us, and he finished the missions with us.
He started to get into the bit of the banter. But what we also noticed is by the end of it, when we were doing the tougher missions, is the teamwork and the camaraderie
unbelievable,
was so good,
but the accomplishment as well, all coming together. Like the bands, it did reduce because there was a lot going on. We was fighting like a big ship, but then the feeling of the panic and like the urgency when you're doing it, you're hitting the buttons like you're.
But you're all doing it together, and that's what's so
good.
And then at the same time, you're looking around and you're like, "That's fucking awesome." And this guy's like, "Yeah, totally." You look back at the captain, he's sat back all proud and stuff. Anyway, Star Trek Bridge Crew. If you have any form of VR or get a chance to try it out.
So much fun.
Please try it out. It's easy. We've played a lot of VR. This was my best game so far.
Same.
Visually, though, in a video, you're not going to see what we felt, unfortunately, because it just doesn't come across that way. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in watching the VOD of all our experiences in the bants and meeting the captain for yourself, the link for that is down below, guys. Other than that,
you say that every time there's no down there, pal. I look every time you say the link's down below. There is literally carpet.
Bye.
I'm sick of this. Bullshit.
This is why you got the PlayStation.
I wanted to do the not like this, but with a more like Spanish-esque twang to it, you know? That's a twofer! Shabba! That's a highlight reel. Let's see that in an instant replay. And as you can see here, Brown's wasting no time with the defensive cover. Waits for the 2 offensive policemen to come round. 6.4, Shazbot. That's a twofer for the Duchess. Back to you in the studio.